The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, here with Sam. 1 week over in the NBA. How you doing, Sam?
Half a week, technically, but already big games to dissect. Big games against big Western Conference opponents. I feel good. I mean, the team's been pretty good. There's been high spots, low spots. We'll talk about it all today. But overall, not the worst place to be in, 2-1 after 3 games.
2-1 after 3 games. I do think the overall tenor of this intro may be different had we recorded immediately after the Lakers game.
Oh, no doubt. It would be entirely different.
That's how the beginning of the season is, right? You kind of overreact to every small thing that happens at the beginning of the season, and then you kind of see how the team coalesces over time, especially with a team that has as many new pieces as this team has so far. And yeah, like you said, 2-1, not so bad. We talked already about the Clippers game. We recorded immediately after that one. The Lakers game, incredibly frustrating, incredibly annoying game where they were up by 22 and ended up losing the game. A disastrous second half in that game and a disaster game by Jusuf Nurkic. And then, of course, the game that we are now recording afterwards, which is the home opener against the Dallas Mavericks, which they kind of handled beginning to end. They looked pretty good. I would say there were times where they looked great offensively. There were times where they looked pretty good defensively as well. I think overall they did a good job against the Dallas Mavericks and finished that game. But the story of that is Bradley Beal didn't play, and they started a different starting lineup because as of right now, in my opinion, and I'm curious how you feel about this, starting lineup has looked pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, where do you want me to start? You're talking about the Tyus, Book, Beal, KD, like the real starting lineup.
Yeah,
it's hard because it's only been 2 games, and so I know we have to preface everything with that until we get a little bit deeper into the season. If you're asking me if I want to abandon the starting lineup already based on the, again, horrendous performance by many of the players, not just Nurkic, definitely Nurkic, but other guys too, in the Lakers game, I would not say I'm prepared to make that decision. I mean, part of it is even you look at a guy like Nurkic who systemically, we know that there are issues inherent to Jusuf Nurkic's game. We know that when he has a bad game, when he has a stinker, it can drag everyone else down with him, essentially, because he can't finish at the rim. He doesn't have gravity outside the paint. He's making stupid decisions and just turning the ball over. So he has a game like that against the Lakers, and it sank the entire starting lineup. And then he has a game like he did against the Mavs.
Yeah.
And they're whether they should have or not, you can debate, but they ran their offense through Nurk for a stretch of that game when the Mavs went small, and he scored 12 straight points.
Half of the second quarter, yeah.
Right. So, am I blaming it on Bradley Beal that Nurk was horrible in one night and then he was great in the other night? It very easily could have looked a lot different if Nurk played like he did against the Mavs. If he could just do that once against Anthony Davis and the Lakers, and of course we'll see it tomorrow as our next game is against the Lakers yet again. But I'm not ready to abandon the starting lineup. The net rating does look really bad so far, but that's just not something I'm interested in really talking about 3 games in. It's too early.
Yeah, well, I agree with you that abandoning it would be a disaster, but I do think that we have seen over the course of a few games, not to mention a different lineup that has worked, we have seen a world where you at least have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Keep an eye on it.
We have to watch
fine.
that and see if it's something that continues or if they figure out a way to get it to work. And part of it is, I do think that Nurkic missing preseason probably didn't help, like a lot of the preseason games, and they really haven't all played together that much yet. It's even looking at the lineup stats, like the overall starting lineup, because it's only 2 games, and because Bud plays a lot of guys, they've only played 10 or 11 minutes together or something like that. It hasn't been a ton of minutes.
Yeah, did you have Colin Gillespie logging minutes in Game 3 of the regular season on your bingo card?
And he played well, I thought. You know, they used him as like an off-ball guard
on the first shot.
I part of me was wondering, did Bud think it was Grayson Allen? He just put him in. He just looked at the bench. He said, "That white guy right there, put him in. Put him in the corner. Let him shoot threes."
The big takeaway to me, if we want to go glass half full, as I think we should, is not so much like look at the starting lineup. They've struggled, but here we are in Game 3 against a team that just went to the NBA Finals. You're down a couple guys, and Bud, who's historically a veteran coach, yes, he plays a lot of guys, but also like he's used to these playoff games where he has to trim down his rotation. He has to trust in the veterans, right? And here he is, this veteran coach, entrusting your late first-round rookie, Ryan Dunn, with starting minutes in Game 3 of the regular season. And not only did Dunn take on that assignment, but he kicked ass. He was awesome. That's where we should start. And like anytime he plays over 15 minutes a game this year, he's going to be in foul trouble, I guess. Because the officials are just not going to give him the benefit of the doubt in a lot of those situations.
And he fouls a lot so far too.
He does.
Like he is fouling. I think this is perfect because what I wanted to do, or the way that I sort of organized my notes, is just a bunch of things that I've liked so far over these first
Zach
3
Lowe
games.
style. Got to fill the void.
Yeah, right. Just trying to find things that I like. And it has to start with Ryan Dunn. Now, there's other things that have been going really well for the Suns so far, you know, and we could talk about things that maybe need to improve as well towards the end of this episode. But I think there's just a lot of things that we can talk about that have been great. And it starts with Ryan Dunn, and it has to start with Ryan Dunn because it's just the extent to which that he's been this valuable for this team so far was not something that I think anybody really predicted. You know, as much as we all hoped for something like this to happen to start the season, you couldn't have said that. You know, you couldn't have guaranteed that. First of all, they're starting him against an MVP candidate to guard him. You know, on a team that went to the finals last year. And he was one of the most important parts of that game, and that they ended up winning. It's just, it really is hard to predict something like that.
His biggest fans couldn't have envisioned this. Certainly nobody on the University of Virginia coaching staff, because otherwise they should all be fired. We said Tony Bennett. Every single person on the University of Virginia coaching staff should be put in basketball prison, because I have no idea how it's possible. Our friend Cody Hunt, I just retweeted him a couple minutes before we went on here because I just saw his tweet that Ryan Dunn leads all rookies in three-pointers made. 3 games into the season, of course. But, like, that is unfathomable to any of these scouts or people who analyze this guy's game. You had guys like Reed Shepherd coming out of this prospect class, shooting over 50% from deep in college. You want to know what Reed Shepherd is shooting on threes so far, 3 games in?
Sure.
He's playing 10 minutes a game. He shot 2 for 6 total in 3 games. That's like supposed to be the next great generational sharpshooter. Ryan Dunn has made like 3 times as many threes as that. He's taking more threes than Reed Shepherd. He's starting games. I mean, it's incredible. And the defensive potential is just so absolutely there. Suns fans like do this thing where they just fall back, especially newer fans, I guess. Any good defender now, we have to fall back and be like, oh, is this Mikal Bridges? And it
used to be Sean Marion, right? Yeah.
It used to be Sean Marion, and
now it's Mikal Bridges.
Now, granted, I think we have literally compared Dunn to Sean Marion on episodes in the past. I can't remember if it was Main Feed or Patreon. But the fun thing about Ryan Dunn is just like, I understand where I don't want to get too crazy on this episode, but like
why not?
His defensive ceiling so easily surpasses Mikal's. Just by virtue of the fact that he is so much stronger than Mikal Bridges. He is so much stronger.
More athletic in general, I think.
Yes, it's not a contest. And that's not to say Mikal wasn't an incredible defender. And, of course, I'm acknowledging the fact that he was the runner-up to Defensive Player of the Year in that one year where they just didn't want to give it to Rudy Gobert or any other big man because they were sick of his shit. But like Dunn's ability to guard multiple positions, like not just the guards, the Lukas of the world like Mikal did, but also he's going to be able to guard 4s, maybe even 5s. It's I get it. It's all like theoretical value that we're projecting. It's not actualized. It's not baked in yet. But like you just look at what you can maybe conceive of him doing on a basketball court in another 2 or 3 years' time, and his ceiling is sky high, man. This shooting. He took a 3 off a handoff yesterday, like off a little bit of movement? Did you see? Because you just watched the game, right? Did you see that one?
Yeah.
It's like, my God. Oh my God. I cannot believe that we're here.
A pull-up 3 too.
I cannot believe we're already here with Ryan Dunn. It's hard not to be super excited and feel like the Suns really might have the steal of the draft.
It really is so confidence-based too. When you watch him shoot, it's just there's nothing in there telling him not to do that in his head. You know what I mean? There's no hesitation. There's no fear of getting pulled from the lineup if he misses. It's just full confidence, and credit right to him, obviously, and of course Mike Budenholzer for giving him that confidence to take those shots. But if you want to get completely crazy, and I know that we already are, but what would it? This is just a question, not a prediction. What would it take for him to win Rookie of the Year?
Not that much.
What would have to happen, do you think?
He'd have to become a starter soon. I don't think you're going to win Rookie of the Year unless you're starting 50, 60 games. He'd have to average double-digit scoring. If we're being honest, probably closer to 15 points a game. This
you
is
think
why.
So?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, well, I'll look back at the history. I can look up the history of the award while you kind of talk about it. But yeah, right.
Well, the reason I think it's not that it's on the table, right? I don't think that this is something you should go put money on or anything like that. But it's just this draft class is so uniquely bad that I'm curious if this could be the type of year where voters start to think a little hipstery and say, how do we identify a player that's actually contributed on a good team to give him that award instead of looking at these players that benefited from opportunity on a bad team that maybe won't be the peak level that they anticipate that they want them to be, right? The teams that drafted
He'll
them.
be acknowledged. He'll be acknowledged by voters for sure. It's just I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to force you to do some trivia. It's really hard to push yourself over the top and win that award without having a lot of statistical production to show for it. I guess the outlier case might be what if some guys get injured too, right? What if a bunch of guys can't reach the 65 game threshold? Because that's something you have to think about now. In the past 20 years...
players would have to be bad. You know what I mean? There would have to be... Risa Shea or Sarr would have to be really bad.
Yeah, or hurt.
That would be... Yeah.
Or hurt. In the past 20 years, there is one Rookie of the Year who averaged under 15 points per game. So that's why that's my benchmark. Do you want to guess...
What year was it? Let's see.
No, don't look it up. You got to guess.
Okay, no, I'm not. Okay.
2016-17.
2016-17. Oh, wow. I have no idea.
I would not have been able to get this, so I'm not going to blame you.
Is it?
It's because...
No, I don't know.
Here's your hint, if it helps. There was a clear rookie, and this is perfectly encapsulates what we're talking about with the 65-game thing. There was another rookie in this class who was way, way better than this guy, but played 30 games. So people didn't...
Is it Michael Carter Williams? Is that
No, that was a few years before that.
Okay. I don't know. Who was it?
It's Malcolm Brogdon.
Okay, so yeah,
it's the year that Malcolm Brogdon
right?
won and Joel Embiid came in third, but he still got votes because he only played 30 games. In those 30 games, he averaged over 20 points per game.
That's right. I do remember this. Yes. Okay, yeah. I don't think it's something that's necessarily on the table, but I did watch this game thinking there's a world where this guy is the most valuable player of this rookie class in the first few years of him playing, and maybe other guys have higher ceilings that they could potentially reach because we haven't seen any shot creation from Ryan Dunn, and I don't know if it's there or if it will ever be there, but contributing by being the best defender that was drafted plus being an effective 3-and-D player on what could be a very good team, that means you're contributing a lot to a winning basketball team immediately, and rookies don't normally do that. They don't. This is and he might not, right? Maybe there's a cliff that he could fall off at some point statistically. But right now, he projects to be capable of doing that based on how he played in preseason and how he's played so far in the NBA. That's just something that doesn't happen very often. And, maybe there's a world where voters recognize that. And, maybe it's a third place, that's where he ends up, third place or something like that. If he continues to play really
if he's
well,
third place in Rookie of the Year voting after, what was he drafted, 28th, 29th?
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
That is insane that we're even talking about that already. The odds have
I know. It is
skyrocketed
insane.
on this guy.
I'm going to acknowledge that it actually is insane for the record, but I can't help having these intrusive thoughts. I'm excited about having a good young rookie on this team, so I'm going to have some intrusive thoughts occasionally about that. So, and this is one of them.
The other guy I think about that I've seen people compare him to online, just in terms of impact, is Derek Lively. A guy who came in and was able to rapidly change, not the timeline because the Mavs were already hoping to compete, but just the ceiling of that team, right? Like that team does not make their second half season run and proceed to dominate in the playoffs like they do. Not dominate, but gets the finals without what Derek Lively did as a rookie. And Lively came in, he's a rare case of these late first round type guys who came in, and last week of October, he's already playing 20, 25 minutes. And by January, February, he's playing 30, 35 minutes in every game, right? So, like, the fact that we're here in Game 3 and Ryan Dunn's playing 21 minutes on a good team is a big deal.
Lakers, Clippers, Blazers, 76ers, Heat, next 5 games. Bradley Beal, say he misses all 5 of those. And Ryan Dunn plays in the starting lineup.
What are you saying?
And they go 5-0.
Oh my God! You're saying
then Bradley Beal comes back. They play the Mavericks, the Kings,
go back.
the Jazz. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what happens? That's all I'm saying. Nothing's going to change. I think Bradley Beal deserves the opportunity to try to figure this out, especially because it's not like the Lakers game was not because Bradley Beal was bad.
Well, I was about to say
the Clippers game, Bradley Beal was the best player on the team.
Yeah, we should acknowledge the fact that the starting lineup was bad in the Lakers game, but Bradley Beal through 2 games has actually looked really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have to mention that too. But I think, it's hard not to envision exactly what the Suns are missing is what Ryan Dunn provides in that starting lineup. So it's just hard not to envision a world where you could see that. I understand why people say maybe he should start at some point of the season. I want to mention another player that's really stood out to me. And you could probably guess who I'm going to mention. Like, we can get to the stars in a minute. Of course, we always talk about role players first on this podcast, but Royce O'Neal has been awesome to start this season. Like, legitimately great as a Suns player. And I'm watching him in this Mavs game where it's not like he's scoring a ton of points, by the way. I want to point that out, too. He did have 7 points. But he had 7 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, and was plus 18 on the game, 1 for 5 from 3. I want to mention that, 1 for 5 from 3 and still plus 18 in this game. The impact that he's had in these few games, just a few games, but in these few games, the impact that he has, to me, feels similar to like Jay Crowder when Jay Crowder was on the Suns.
Yep.
He defensively battling a lot defensively. 4 assists, that's not going to be completely out of the ordinary for him in the way he plays. There's no, advanced reads on those assists, but he's a connector. He moves the ball quickly and he moves it without question of where it needs to go. And it appears that he has been instructed to attack the boards, which is something that I don't think we've seen before, but he is trying to get rebounds now.
Yeah,
and had 9 rebounds in this
He's
game.
muscling up really well for a guy of his size. I think Bud that's kind of his acknowledgement. You see it in a couple ways, right? One, the fact that they're trying Oso at power forward, which is something that we could talk about later. I think they've had really not any success with that, but they are trying it. And then, the fact that Royce is being instructed to go after more rebounds. It's only 3 games. We'll see if it holds, but I would not be surprised if we revisit this conversation 10 games in and he's rebounding at like a career high rate, right? So they understand that there are ways that they have to play big, especially in these matchups against teams like the Lakers that routinely kick their ass when it comes to points in the paint. Like, they have to play bigger against teams like the Lakers, teams like the Nuggets. It's only a few of these teams these days in the NBA, but you have to be you have to circle those dates on the calendar and really be ready for it. And Royce certainly has been ready, I felt. It's encouraging that he hasn't even found his shot yet. And he's still impacting the game in this many ways. Dude, the one play with the layup on one end and then the block on the other, I did not know that he physically could move that fast. You don't think as
3.5 seconds, one end of the floor to the other.
Did you time it?
Leaping off of it.
Did you time it?
That's how much time was on the clock when he made the layup.
Dude, you don't think of Royce as like not that he's unathletic, he's certainly not, but like you don't think of him as having burst like that. And that is just such an electrifying, energizing play that I don't think he hasn't been in a Suns uniform for that long, but I don't think we've seen something like that from him yet. So that was an incredible sequence.
It's high effort. I do think there's like an element of, he has a contract now, right? He's signed, he's making the most money he's ever made. He's signed for years. And when you're asking a player like him to attack the boards, the traditional thing for a player like him is he runs down in transition, right? And he's trying to get the 3-pointer in transition, which kind of ups his overall scoring, ups his overall efficiency, which helps with things like getting a contract. And I think there's an element of, you have the security now, we're going to ask you to do some of the things that are like a little bit more of the dirty work associated with this game. And maybe it's not going to reflect in your overall scoring. And he could still score more, right? He's not shooting great from 3, like you mentioned. And he can shoot great from 3. If you add that to his game right now, it's tough to argue that he shouldn't be playing 27 minutes in the Mavs game, and he earned 27 minutes in that game. Like, it's tough to argue that he shouldn't be playing that much or more in scenarios like that if he starts hitting threes. But even without that, just being willing to do that. And David, our friend David, pointed out on Twitter, battling with big guys because nobody else on this team really can currently battle with big guys. And look,
you know what it is?
It's not going to look great all the time when he's, trying to fight Anthony Davis under the rim, but he's willing to do that. Not a lot of guys are going to.
I think, I want to modify what I said a minute ago, because I think what Bud is really trying to do is he's trying to figure out ways that this team can play big if needed, but he doesn't want to sacrifice, and this might sound a little mean, but he doesn't want to sacrifice basketball IQ in the process. And so some people might ask, well, why isn't Bol playing? Bol is not really touching the floor. And certainly he could play power forward, and he would make the Suns bigger in doing so. But I think there's a specific reason why maybe you're seeing him lean a little bit more towards the side of, let's ask Royce to take on tougher assignments, or let's play Oso at power forward, which again, I don't even...
Or let's play Colin Gillespie in a lineup that has 4 guards and still not play Bol in that scenario, which they did do in this game,
Exactly. It's just a fundamental sort of lack of not that Bol can't be good and impactful and successful, but just not a high level of trust in where he's at defensively. And I think it's sort of proof, too, that like Bud is very much thought of as an offensive coach, and you can already see it. He's transformed the Suns' offense. They play differently. They're taking the threes. They're doing the things we ask them to do. But defensively, he takes the defensive side very seriously as well.
Yeah,
and
let's talk about that.
He has a philosophy, for sure.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I meant to mention this when we were talking about the Lakers game, and this is something to keep an eye on going forward. A couple of things, actually, I want to mention, and I want to get your thoughts on them. Nurkic playing higher, something you anticipated, multiple times playing at the level of the screen, even occasionally almost full switching, but usually
hedging.
Just plays at the level of the screen,
hedges,
runs back, right? Guys come off the corners to try and, from the far corner, weak side corner, to try and help at the rim, then he runs back at the rim to try and recover. Which went, I think, pretty well overall in this game. I think he did it against Klay Thompson. He did it against Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Rarely against Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie Irving wants to get to the rim, so he played in a drop.
Kyrie's going to turn that corner so fast if Nurkic comes out to try and hedge. But I've noticed, I think they try and do it more at like the end of quarters with Nurk, or like, almost like we lull you to sleep with you think that drop is just going to be there every time, and now suddenly there's 10 seconds left in the quarter, and this massive gargantuan dude is coming at you, and it's like, oh, fuck. Like,
it was end of quarter scenarios, right? Even in the Lakers game, they did that. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm curious what you think of that, but the other thing is minutes with Oso Ighodaro at center, where they switched everything, and like for basically 6 minutes in the game straight,
with
where
Luka
they didn't have another big
in the game
with Luka on the floor, and they extended their lead, and it was Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and then bench guys. Outside of that, I think it was Monte Morris, Royce O'Neal, and Oso Ighodaro, I think, for the majority of that, and they extended their lead. Like, they actually pushed that lead out. It was beginning of the second quarter, if anybody wants to rewatch those minutes, and took the Mavs totally out of their offense and what they were trying to do for a long period of time. And don't get me wrong, Luka gets used to those switches. He can abuse them. He hit a 3, he hit a layup on Oso Ighodaro. But overall, I think it mucked things up a little bit enough for the Mavs to allow the Suns to actually extend their lead in that time. And Oso Ighodaro is an interesting prospect as a center because he's not very big overall, right? He's not 7 feet. He's not 260 or whatever. Like he's a smaller center if he's going to be playing center. But the prospect of him being capable as a switching center is something that we have yet to talk a lot about overall. But man, would it be really effective for him being an NBA player if he could do that.
I've certainly tried to make reference to it. At least, it's something we read about in the scouting reports as like, projecting what his high scenario would be is if he's able to do something like that. Ultimately, Bud's been around the block. He's learned lessons from prior playoff losses, and I think he understands you don't make deep playoff runs in the NBA these days if you don't have scheme versatility. You need to be able to play defense in different ways, but specifically, they want to be able to play a way that isn't just relying on the drop, that isn't also too taxing on Kevin Durant. In comes Oso Ighodaro. Because you're right, he has the perfect blend of IQ and body type and athleticism to be able to switch out on the perimeter like that. And consistently against anyone, like, no, I don't know. I mean, we don't want to like extend this case too far into things that he truly can't do. But I loved the fact that they played him for extended minutes and trusted him in select possessions against Luka, and I thought he looked really good. And also, what you're saying about like Oso's not that long, I don't know off the top of my head like what is Oso's wingspan? Is it like 7 foot, maybe 7'1"?
I'll look it up right now.
It's not that long, and so like having a drop defense is great if you have a
6'11".
That's a wing in the NBA, right? And so this is why it makes sense to switch him, because the drop defense is, we're going to drop our big lumbering guy back, the guy who's got the longest wingspan and the biggest standing reach, because he can just put his arms up right around the rim. He's going to discourage you from getting too close to the rim, and you're going to be intimidated. You're going to want to shoot that floater, shoot that mid-range, whatever, over him, and we're going to play the math game. Well, the problem is, Oso has a 6'11" wingspan. So if you play him and drop, that looks like a tantalizing piece of meat to like any NBA attack guard who's coming off the screen and is going to see Oso and drop and isn't just going to stop and take the mid-range. They're going to say, I could take this guy all the way. He can't protect the rim. So playing him and drop, I don't even think really like works as a at least not as a go-to defensive strategy. They need to find other ways to make him seem more intimidating on defense, and I think switching could really be what they land on.
It would be massive. I mean, because one of the other options, of course, is playing a power forward, which they even did try to do in the second half. His second half stint was cut pretty short. They didn't play him very long. The Nurkic three-pointing experiment has been going really poorly so far, as we all know. So carving out a world where he plays a ton of power forward minutes is going to be difficult for this team unless they make a trade. But, a 6-minute stretch and a half where he's the only sole big on the floor and they're switching everything just to throw it off, throw any team off their rhythm a little bit, I think is probably pretty effective, because guess what the Mavs did on every possession? Attack Oso Ighodaro over and over and over and over and over again. And look, +9 in this game overall, that's fine, I guess. If that's going to happen, they're going to score. It's not going to look perfect when he's doing that. But if he can get the experience in guarding those guys, and over the course of a season, he improves dramatically, that gives another tool in the toolbox to somebody like Budenholzer, who can now pull that out whenever he needs it and just try to play a little bit differently and see how it affects the overall outcome of the game. And in this game, it went well. And since we're on the rookies, I wanted to ask you, did you watch the Mavs game on the Suns broadcast?
Yeah. Why?
K-Ray, when Ryan Dunn had that putback dunk, K-Ray's call was, he done did that.
Oh, yes. I did hear that. Yes.
What'd you think of that?
I love K-Ray, so I don't...
I loved it.
Oh, did you?
I loved it. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, you know what? Of all the done puns, that's the best one. He found the good one.
I've
I
heard-
feel like
I've
there's
heard
a lot
mixed
of
reviews.
done and done. Like that's an obvious one.
Yeah.
Like I've used that on Twitter before.
The dungeon.
The
is a
dungeon,
big
which
one.
is also pretty good. I think that's pretty good, and I think that will make its way onto the broadcast. But like on a putback dunk or on an athletic play, saying he did that, that's pretty
You
good.
think it's
I'm
good?
giving K-Ray some credit on that.
I could warm up to it. I'm neutral at this point, to be entirely honest.
I laughed. I audibly laughed when he said it. It came out of nowhere for me. EJ was laughing.
The
and
ones
added
that come
to
out
it.
of nowhere are the funniest. Yes,
Yeah.
they're typically when you're having like just a good time and it feels like friends hanging out. Real like sort of casual delivery style to it. That is what that is. So yeah, maybe I'll warm up to it.
Since we're back on the Mavs game, I'm sorry. I'm just going back to Mavs stuff, but I think it's interesting because it's more predictive of the future. I don't want to spend too long on a game when a lot of people are going to listen to this after the next Lakers game, but the way that teams have defended the Suns so far is standing out to me because I'm trying to figure out there is a different offensive system in place for the Suns now. Like it's honestly pretty dramatically different than last year. And I think you can just feel it when watching the game, but if you really look at the types of sets they're running, it's pretty different than before. And the Mavs spent 3/4 of this game icing Kevin Durant and icing Devin Booker.
Mm-hmm.
And you could even hear, I don't know if it was Jason Kidd or whoever it was on the sideline.
Ice,
especially
every possession.
KD.
Every possession.
Yeah, every time KD was running a pick and roll, they shouted out ice. And the Suns were kind of picking that apart. Like they were doing a really good job attacking that. And for those who don't remember, icing a pick and roll is when a player, instead of lining up behind the pick or trying to fight over or under a pick, they line up to block the direction the player would go, forcing them to go baseline, essentially, or towards the baseline.
Yeah.
Toward the sideline, I should say.
Yeah.
And then forcing the defense to sort of funnel them.
You're gonna see it
towards that corner.
You're gonna see it basically anytime there's a wing initiated pick and roll. Not anytime, but if the defense is calling out ice and there's a player on the wing, they're gonna do whatever is in their power to stop the player from being able to take the middle of the floor and force them towards the baseline, because obviously if you could get a player going baseline, they have fewer angles to work with, is the general philosophy behind it.
And so they were doing that. The Clips are switching everything. I think the Clippers did a really, really good job defending the Suns, and the Suns ended up winning anyway. The Mavs, in the fourth quarter, just started switching everything. And I think the KD, who's somebody I want to talk about who also has been playing really well, was awesome in this Mavs game. I think my favorite game of the 3 games he's played so far was this Mavs game. He was so great. And part of that was their ability to attack those switches. What the Suns did in the entire fourth quarter essentially is what the Mavs did against Oso Ighodaro, except it was the MVP candidate Luka Doncic. They were forcing switches onto Luka Doncic and attacking that, forcing help, either passing out of that or just shooting if they're capable of attacking on that switch, occasionally mixing it up with attacking other bigs on those switches as well. But this strategy, I think, in how teams are going to defend the Suns is going to be interesting, because if there's a world where they can start beating teams that switch on them, they're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
Like a lot of games, because that's what hurt them last year was wings who could switch and make it a little difficult for the Suns. And these are good teams that were doing it. Like the Lakers might be good this year. I hate to say it, but these are good teams that are trying different things on the Suns.
They're 3-0 so far. I mean, I don't hate to say it. Good for JJ, I guess. I don't want them to finish above us in the standings, but JJ's proven his doubters wrong. Look, this Suns offense is designed to, I think, be able to dismantle a lot of defensive systems. I mean, a defensive strategy like ice is always going to be inherently vulnerable to things like slipping screens. And the Suns have a lot of guys, whether it's inverted ball screens that you've talked about on your now famous TikTok page, or just like the traditional big screen. The Suns have so many guys who can catch in the middle of the floor and make a play and move the ball side to side, and that's going to work really, really well against a nice defense, which, like you're saying, might force teams to rely a little bit heavily more on switching. But even there, the Suns have the ISO players, right? So it's going to be a balance. You don't want to lean too heavily. A couple things. You don't want to lean too heavily on isolation plays, obviously. And also, I think it is possible for the Suns, as we saw in the Lakers game, for things to feel like everything's going right and feeling like you're, trusting the process and building discipline, and now you've got a 15, 20-point lead, and then suddenly you get a little bit too confident and you just start making stupid decisions. And that's what we saw in that game with Jusuf Nurkic making absolutely, like, he had a couple of good passes in the first half of that game when they were building that lead, and then suddenly, I don't know what happened to his mindset, but like, he thought he was Magic Johnson, right? And like made some of the worst passes you've ever seen.
I'm not sure he can play random. I think his play needs to be less random.
So that's a problem though, because kind of our offense is predicated on him playing random. Not all of it.
Playing random is not, I don't think of, that's not a center thing. You know what I mean?
But it kind of is a little
Centers
bit.
have to know their role even within any Bud system. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they can't just try anything.
I'm just saying they brought in Mason for a reason. I think it's because they think he can play random, quote unquote, and they brought in Oso for a reason. And I think there's two reasons they haven't traded Nurkic yet. One, because probably no one wants him, but two, because they think he like legitimately fits in the system in a way that,
and maybe he can,
that DeAndre Ayton can't. But yes, you're right. He absolutely has to rein it in. Even yesterday against the Mavs, again, some really bad turnovers. He had a good game overall. He was making his layups, but some really bad turnovers again. I think he had half the team's turnovers in yesterday's game.
I want to talk about him more in a second, but just on the idea of switching, because I brought up KD. There was, I suggest if you missed this game, this Mavs game, go back and watch the KD highlights. And what you'll see is almost no post-ups, very little standing around holding the ball, tons of quick decisions, and very little, I hate to say it, passing. He's just shooting. He was there to score. And I think the reason I mentioned this Mavs game as one of, the game I think that you could sort of identify as this is how KD should play is because of that. It was decisive. It was quick decisions. It was very little standing around holding the ball. There were still a few pick and rolls built into that. And I do think there are teams that could double aggressively on those pick and rolls to force him into turnovers that could still impact it negatively. But you can't play KD without pick and rolls. He's too good at them. Like, just depending on how teams are playing it, he can score on all of it. Every single way that you defend a pick and roll, KD can score. So you have to throw those in there as well. And, the occasional post-up that he did have were like against Kyrie Irving. Like they found ways to get switches so that he was closer to the basket, catching it, and then scoring or shooting at the very least, because I think he missed in the Kyrie Irving one. There wasn't a ton of passing it to him in the post, him standing there waiting for players to move off the ball and then making decisions. It's much closer, I think, to what I would like him to be on this team moving forward, especially now that they've added 2 point guards. And I think he's been great, first of all, in general. Like, he's averaging 28 points per game. He has a 65% true shooting percentage. All of this is very small sample size. You don't understand that about any stats that we read out.
But far and away, the scoring
he has been great
through 3 games, which is important.
And if you look at, and we'll talk about him later, how Booker has played so far, it can't go unsaid just how, good KD has been. He has been reliable at his job at scoring, and Booker has been, specific to scoring, less reliable in that regard.
Pedestrian.
And, for KD to do that at his age is still something that we have to acknowledge. But in particular, if they can find more ways to do what they did with him in this game, I think that would be really effective for this team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just how do you balance, you still want him to touch the ball, right? You want him to be able to get in rhythm and feel like he's making quick decisions, yes, but also that he is the offense, that the offense truly is built around him. It's kind of a unique challenge and not something that I think a ton of teams in the modern era have been faced with, to be entirely honest with you. I can't think of another modern example off the top of my head where it's like our lead scorer, yes, he touches the ball a lot, but like he's just curling off of screens and catching and shooting within a second, Who else?
Maybe Steph.
Yeah, Steph is still a decision maker sometimes, but yeah, I guess it's kind of like Steph. Like Steph.
Steph is insanely unique. It's hard to make a comparison of Steph to anyone else, but he does a lot of his scoring off the ball.
At KD's position, there's not really a comparable guy.
I mean, they're usually guys like that are usually finishing at the rim. It's just with KD, he's like as effective, true shooting percentage wise, as those players, except he's doing it all with jump shots.
He takes the 18-footer, yeah.
And they foul him there anyway. He still gets tons of free throws. I'm still amazed how that translates every year. By the way, weird year so far with officiating, right? A ton of free throws have been taken so far in the beginning of the season across the entire league, as far as a bunch of teams are shooting a ton of free throws. It's just been, I don't know, it's just been kind of odd to watch. I never know how the refs are going to call something. Lots of things are being allowed when players are just standing there holding the ball or dribbling in a post-up. Lots of physicality. And then when you get to the rim, either you get mauled and there's nothing, or it's just a light bump and they're shooting free throws. Yeah. I know it's the beginning of the season, but it's just been hard to really figure out what this season is going to look like. Beginning of last season or the end of last season, which were also two different things.
Yeah,
I don't have a good feel on that yet.
Neither do I. There have been some absolutely horrendous calls already, though, through a few games. Like, the Booker kicked ball violation that was like
terrible,
clear as day. Just his hand touching the ball, his feet were nowhere near it, and was not a reviewable play. And yeah, there's been some real great stuff in the opening week.
Let's talk about some of the new guys on the team.
Actually, can we talk Booker? Since we did KD.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do a Booker segment. How do you feel?
What do you think?
Well,
I think
you go first on this one. I don't need to take the baton.
I think that Nurkic kind of shielded just how bad he was in the Lakers game. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Lakers game. I don't think he played very well in the Lakers game in general, offensively or defensively. I think in the Mavs game, where he didn't finish with a ton of scoring, but he found ways to be efficient because he got 12 free throws. He was just getting fouled a lot. So you look at 4 for 12 and it looks worse than it is because, maybe some of those shots where they hammered him would have actually gone in and the efficiency would have looked better. Overall, in a game where you shoot 12 shots and you end with 21 points, it is an efficient game, even though the 4 for 12 overall is a poor field goal percentage. I think more than anything else, I have concerns about this team, and he's just not one of them. You know what I mean? I'm watching him play, and I think he could play a lot better than he's playing so far. I do think in the Mavs game, on the ball, he was playing pretty good defense. Off the ball, he fell asleep a few times, but his on-ball defense forced them into a couple of turnovers, including some offensive fouls for him fighting over screens because teams don't anticipate him fighting like that over screens. Overall, I just don't find myself being that concerned with how he's going to play, but I do think it has been a start that is below what is expected of him.
Oh, so no doubt. Well, I mean, what are the averages? 19 and 5 or something through 3 games? Yeah, that's far below our expectations of what Devin Booker is ultimately going to do this season. But what I keep coming back to is, has there been a single season where Devin Booker didn't average 5 more points per game post All-Star break, right? Doesn't he always does this? He always, and it's not because he starts slow in the way Nuggets fans talk about Jamal Murray or whatever, where it's it's okay that he's shooting 33% for the field. He just starts slow. No, Book is efficient year round, but every single season starts for him the same way. He's feeling it out with his new teammates. There's always new continuity issues. He's trying to figure out the offense, and he's just not the type of guy, even when you wish he would be a little bit, to force shots. He is not going to force shots, and he has not been forcing shots through the first 3 games here, coupled with the fact that he is literally touching the ball less because of Tyus Jones, as he should be, right? He's figuring out a new role. We brought in Tyus Jones for a reason, but if you look at the touch data through 3 games, Booker averaged 73 touches per game last season. He's at 55 per game through 3 games. That is
I think that's a substantial. Do you have the ability
drop
of checking just the Mavs game? I'm curious if the stats allow you to do that.
I don't have the tab up anymore.
That's okay. I do think the Mavs game in general, the way the offense, and it's tough to say this because Bradley Beal wasn't in it, but the distribution of touches between Tyus Jones and Devin Booker felt right to me. in what they were doing. Because like I said, KD, they weren't running it through KD, they were running it through KD. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's there to take all the shots, but they weren't running it through KD in the traditional sense, where the play usually started with Tyus Jones and Devin Booker, and then it went from there, and it just developed into a lot of open shots over the course of the game. But in that specific game, I was watching it going, this feels a little bit more right to what I expected over this, for this team.
So I was just looking it up, so I didn't hear anything you just. No, I'm kidding. But you were talking, about Booker and Tyus, right? As the
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, wait, this doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. Give me 30 more seconds. I'm trying really hard to find this tab, and I think it is not cooperating.
That's okay. No, that's no problem. Overall, I think that, like I said, I think with Devin Booker, I would like more focus on, like, I think Klay Thompson was a bad matchup for him in this particular game because he was so focused on trying to help defensively, and he can't fall asleep defensively. I think that's something that we need him to stop doing. But like I said, on the ball, particularly in this Mavs game, I was more impressed with his on-ball defense, and I hope he does more stuff like that over the course of the season.
His on-ball, I feel like that's just something we've said a lot about him over the years too. Better on-ball defender than he is an off-ball defender. For some strange reason, the NBA's website has the Lakers game touch data, but it doesn't seem to have the Mavs game, so I can't get you the answer on exactly what the balance was.
That's okay. Maybe it just takes a day or two. It probably does.
Yeah.
I'm curious if it was more in that game. And look, it probably was just because Bradley Beal wasn't in the game, now that I'm thinking about it. Now, do you have anything else on Devin Booker?
Just said he's going to be fine, right? I would just underscore the fact that he is going to be fine. I think I said before the season, I think I took the under on his points per game, and I probably still hold to that just because I foresaw, this drop in touches coming and that he was going to adapt to a new role. And, but the offense can still revolve around him and KD both. And both of them only have to average 25 points per game. They don't both need to score 28 or 29 for this to be one of the best offenses in the NBA, in my opinion. So, we'll see how it evolves, but I'm not worried about him whatsoever.
The Suns have a few new guys on the team. Let's start with Tyus Jones. What do you think of the Tyus Jones experience?
Oh,
so far?
I love him so much.
He's really great.
He really rocks. He's. Yeah. I don't know what his stats are. I don't care. He's great.
It just doesn't matter. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
He always makes the right decision. You can't leave him open entirely because he's going to take that. You know what? Maybe I am pro floater. I'm anti floater when it's Oso Okudaro because he didn't make them in preseason or whatever. Tyus Jones makes that floater, man. He really does. It is a good.
Well, it's
good
such
experience.
It's such a different type of shot, where Oso is catching it, turning towards the basket, and shooting a floater. Tyus Jones is freezing defenses with the threat of passing to a big man, and they look away from him for a second, and he's floating it off the backboard, which is even harder to do, right? He's doing those sort of LeBron side of the backboard type shots where he's floating it in. And you're right. The decision-making is good. I brought up the stats, 11 points, right? 3 games, right? Keep that in mind. 11 points, 6 assists so far. And let's see, 0.7 turnovers and shooting 52% from the field, 41% from 3. The way he plays is so great for this team because so reliable on the ball, and then he has been so good off the ball, genuinely great off the ball. Last year for the Washington Wizards, he shot 41% from 3. That's what he's shooting so far this year. If he can continue to do that with the types of shots that he's getting wide open threes pretty consistently so far in these first few games. And I think he can continue to get wide open threes. Guys are going to leave him. There's other guys on the team that they have to worry about. To be effective like that is awesome. The way he gets to the rim, it's just you forget he can. You know what I mean? I feel like teams forgets he can because he takes 2 layups a game at most. He tries those shots, and it's just because he freezes you, and all of a sudden he's at the rim throwing it off the backboard.
And because when this offense is humming, when it is truly clicking, firing on all cylinders, teams don't have time to worry about Tyus Jones. We have to think about Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, right? Tyus Jones is he's the least of our priorities, but the fact that this guy can still come off that screen and cook us for up to 15 points per game if he has to, is absolutely awesome. He's just been really, really good.
I'd be surprised if this wasn't a career year efficiency wise for him. It would just be surprising.
He was
me.
already
It just feels
really.
like,
I think you're right, but like what I think is crazy about Tyus is like he's had a long career already. This is season number 9 for him or something, and last season he was already so efficient on the Wizards.
57, almost 58% true shooting percentage. So yes, very good.
49 from the field and 41 from 3, but on the Wizards, isn't that so weird? Like he was an effective player for years on really good Memphis teams, and then he goes to the Wizards of all places and ups his efficiency. And it would be hard for him.
Crazy.
It would be hard for him to do better than 49 and 41 on the Suns, but I'd love to see him try.
Another new guy, Mason Plumlee. Not a ton of minutes played so far. What do you think of Mason Plumlee so far?
He hasn't missed a shot yet, I don't think. Or he's what is he? He's 6 for 7 in 43 minutes. Yeah, not a huge sample size, but yeah, I mean, I like the way he moves the ball, which is exactly what they brought him in to do. And I don't really have any complaints about Mason so far. I wonder.
I have one very basic version of my analysis of him. He's so much better than Drew Eubanks so far.
Yeah.
And to that extent, he's living up to expectations. I don't know if that will continue, but he's just better at basketball. You know what I mean?
Drew Eubanks
he's better at all of it. Every part of it, he's better
Drew
at.
Eubanks was just a negative every night, and all we needed out of Mason truly is to be a replacement level center, because Drew Eubanks could not be that. He's clearly being a replacement level center so far. It'd be great, you still think about like, oh well, what if Nurkic, the wheels just fall off entirely and we need a backup plan? Can Mason be that guy? I don't know.
Probably not.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he's played well enough to think that. But it's 3 games, but I don't think he's played well enough to believe that. Not to mention, hasn't played a ton of games in the last few seasons. But yeah, I appreciate it's. I can't go unsaid that he's playing pretty well compared to what the Suns got used to last year. So I want to factor that in, and I hope he continues to play well. I did kind of forget that he just makes some really nice finishes sometimes. Like he makes nice little reverse layups, that you just don't really expect him to make. And I know we're watching Jusuf Nurkic as a starting center, so maybe our expectations are lowered on a center's ability to finish.
Literally. He had a reverse dunk, right? Is that what you were referring to?
No, that too. Games? That was cool too, where he just kind of threw it down from under the basket.
Yeah, I was cool. It was literally uncontested. So I was like, that's great though, because Nurk cannot do that.
He's popping off the floor. Yeah, he's getting. No, I'm talking about like some nice layups that he's made, but.
His ability to explode off the floor is not something that Nurk can do, and we need it. We absolutely need it.
Last new guy I want to ask you about, Monte Morris.
I think he's fun.
I think he's been really good too.
Wow.
I know it's not complicated analysis that he's been really good. We understand, right, the relative expectations to the position that they're put in with Mason Plumlee and Monte Morris. I even put their positions on the same line of my notes here. But he's been good. Like I think he's playing so far better than I would have expected him to play based on how he played last season, which is a team that he lost his role on, last year. So, coming into this season, you wonder with players sometimes, have they lost a little bit about what made them good previous to that? And so far, no, that's not the case with him. He's not going to be asked to do a lot, and that's important for him to continue to be good. Maybe there are scenarios where he's asked to do a little bit more, but occasionally taking mid-range shots, occasionally being forced to create when the shot clock is winding down, making smart passes without turning it over, and being an effective off-the-ball player, that's all gone well for him. And I think he's been pretty effective as a defender so far. We know that he's not going to be great, but I don't think he's been bad in any way.
Yeah, he tries, and Tyus too tries. I've noticed a couple times with Tyus, by the way, that they're scram switching him out of occasionally, just a couple times. But I'm like, it's something to keep an eye on with him and Monte both. Is like, if you're concerned about those guys' size, you need to find ways to hide them that are a little bit clever. And I think they're working on that already. So that's encouraging to see. Monte is playing his role to a T, and he's an underrated, I will say again, mid-range bucket getter. It's not just KD on this team who can get those mid-range buckets, and Book, obviously. Monte Morris can get you some mid-range buckets. So he's been fun. I have no complaints.
That's basically everyone that's played, right? I mean, Damian Lee got in, played a little bit. He's probably going to do that if Grayson Allen is missing time.
Yeah,
Grayson Allen
Josh
is supposed
still
to be
injured.
back.
And Grayson Allen is injured. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be back he's no longer on the injury report as of today.
Okay, great.
So I think Grayson Allen could play. Well, I think he was actually out for personal reasons. So he could be back for the Lakers game, which we will be watching on playback, by the way. We can talk more about that in a minute. But since we talked about all the guys that have been playing well, I want to just ask from a general sense. We talked a lot about him so far. Jusuf Nurkic. Where are you at with him just from like a level of
Oh my god.
where, like, if you have a panic meter,
I don't like answering this question.
is it a 1?
No, it's not. Well, it's not a 1. Where am I
Is it-
panicking on Nurk?
Let's say 1 to 10.
Yeah, I'm at a 5.
Are
I'm
you
at a
like-
5, 4.5.
That's pretty high.
Are you lower than that?
I don't know.
So
Maybe a little bit,
here's
but
the problem.
yeah, no,
Here's
I don't
the
know.
problem. I think everyone on Twitter is at a 9 all the time with
yes,
Nurk.
exactly.
And so I'm trying to walk people back from that. Like, his game against the Lakers was really maybe his worst game as a Sun. And he had some bad games last year, but like that might have been the worst one. So I was trying to just I want to remind people, like, he comes out the next day and has a much better performance than that, right? Like, who he was against the Lakers is not inherently who Jusuf Nurkic is. He's capable of much
and
more.
who he is against the Mavs is probably not it either, right? He's somewhere in between.
Yeah, I mean, he's taking some threes. He's not making them. And he needs to rein it in with the playmaking. But that's about it. Otherwise, it's like he mostly is what we expect. The rebounding is there. Free throw shooting, let's see. What's he had so far? 67%? Yeah, it sounds about right. I don't know what to say. He needs to be a guy who Bud can count on for more than 20 minutes a game. I guess that's what I'm most concerned about right now, is if Bud is already like, dude, can I even play you 18 minutes if I want to win tonight? Then that's the reason that my panic level is at a 5.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
think I
not
agree with
interested.
you.
I'm not interested in having like a whole like we're not doing the 21 Jusuf Nurkic trades episode, and that was already in the calendar. That episode is supposed to come out December 15th. It's not supposed to come out right now. So I'm telling you folks right now, I'm not having that conversation right now. I'm not doing it.
Have I looked at the players making less salary than him? Yeah. I looked at every single one. I looked at all their contracts. Just taking a look, trying to figure out what's out there. But yeah, I'm not quite there yet either. I think that Bud has an interesting dilemma overall with Nurkic, in that there are games where he looks like he did against the Mavs, and then there are games that he looks like he did against the Lakers. And finding the right levers to pull and finding the right lineups to put out onto the court when he's playing like he did against the Lakers is going to be really important, because in general, I think Anthony Davis plays really well against Nurkic. He just does.
He's his father. I hate to say it, but
yeah,
he truly is his father. Yeah.
And the question of what do you do in those scenarios is interesting. You know, like, do you just put Mason Plumlee in? I don't know that that's going to go better against Anthony Davis. You know, there are worlds where Mason Plumlee could be a better matchup, but I don't think that's the one. Do you just go with Kevin Durant small lineups, and when AD gets the ball, just rush him, double team him as quickly as possible, try to turn him over?
I mean, why do you, and also,
and how many minutes can you do that? That's
right.
the other question.
Why do you
know?
think they could very easily just be burying Oso on the bench right now? Most coaches would be, but Bud is dusting him off and saying, hey, we might actually need you sooner rather than later. So we got to keep you fresh. All I know is I hope he has a better performance against AD tomorrow. Hopefully that sentence doesn't age too poorly for all of you listening on Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever. And I'm going to be pissed if they drop another game to the Lakers. I don't like being in danger of losing a season series against a division rival who's going to be close to you potentially in the standings, like in the first week of the season. Tomorrow's kind of
especially on playback. Yeah.
Oh, are we going to do it on playback? Yeah, but it's kind of a must-win game for me anyway. Like I play for pride.
Must-win game this early.
Must-win game. I'm not losing the season series to the Lakers in Game 4 of the season. I'm not going to do it. Must win.
I like it.
Guarantee. No, I'm not doing that. That's Chuck's thing. Sorry.
Is there anyone else on the team or anything else that you noticed that you wanted to talk about?
No. Does the Dwayne Wade statue count as something I'd like to talk about?
God, what in the world is that?
They're saying Lawrence Fishburne in the comments, which made me crack up. Twitter replies are still good sometimes. You gotta fish for the good stuff.
Lawrence Fish, yeah. It looks really, really bad. I don't understand how this keeps happening over and over again with guys. Like, that looks bad enough. I'm sorry.
The expression, did you see the...
I'm sorry to the artist, but that looks bad enough that they're going to have to redo it.
Did you see the video with just the expression on his face when it gets revealed, and you just see this pained expression? Like... Absolutely incredible content. Sorry to Dwayne Wade, but that was incredible.
All right, everyone. Join us on Playback. Playback.tv/The Timeline. We'll post it on our social media before the game. That'll be Sam and I talking over the game. If you have NBA League Pass purchased through the NBA website, you can watch this stream with us. Otherwise, you can just listen along with us. We'll let you know at what point of the game we're at. There's a chat section that'll just be mostly Suns fans just having a good time watching that game. If we lose together. If we win, we celebrate together. Also, check out ethicalhoops.com. All kinds of good merchandise there for you to purchase. T-shirts, hats, mugs, all kinds of good stuff. And lastly, if you want an extra episode every week, patreon.com/The Timeline, $6 for an extra episode, and join us on our private Discord with all your friends. Anything else you got, Sam?
Don't think so. I'll hopefully see as many of you guys as possible tomorrow night, and many more of you for Patreon in a couple days.
Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll be back very soon.